green they're getting. Got a little bit of the char starting to take place. And then give those squash one more last turn. You see how nice those are beginning to look? Nice and tender. Check our mushrooms over here. And they're also just about there. Now, as I said earlier, there is the issue of when you're grilling that you can kind of remove some of the moisture from food. So I always like to, usually when I'm out back, I've got some cocktail, beverage, refreshment with me. So usually what I'll do is just go ahead and put whatever beverage I'm drinking, go ahead and drizzle a little bit on there, which again adds that a little bit of moisture, as well as keeps everything moist, hydrated, and then imparts a nice extra layer of flavor in there. And that cooks right off, but you can smell the delicious aroma that it causes. So once you've got that corn that comes off the grill, you're just going to take your knife and gently run right down the base of the cob. Try not to cut into the cob, and a nice sharp knife will do that perfectly. To build our grilled veg tostadas, we're just going to take our grilled flour tortillas that were drizzled with a little bit of olive oil. We're going to take a little bit of the grilled sunburst squash. Go ahead and cut those. Put a piece on each. This recipe that we showed you today, do about 4 to 5 tostadas. One nice slice of the grilled portobello mushroom. Okay. We'll take a little bit of that yellow pepper that we grilled. Go ahead and put those on there. The red and yellow. Then we've got a little bit of those scallions that we grilled. We're just going to take those, kind of run our knife through them ever so roughly. Those go right on top. Just tremendous flavor. You can smell the smoke on them. Set those there. And then, of course, we've got that grilled corn that we did earlier. So we take a little bit of that grilled corn that we cut off the cob, and that goes right on the top. So it adds a little more color. And also, I've got a little crumbled cotija cheese. It's a Spanish-style cheese, kind of a fresh cheese. So I'm going to put a little bit of that right on top as well. A little more. I've got a couple of sprigs of cilantro. I'm just going to kind of hand tear and drop on there a little bit. So enjoy your garden, grow your vegetables. I'm going to finish these off with a little bit of salsa. Oh, that looks good. Where's that cold beer of mine? I'm Chef Todd, from the garden to the grill.
The projects that I work on relative to landscape design and gardening elements is usually a larger picture than that. We get subdivisions in, and we're looking at how they're incorporating that subdivision with the neighborhood. And are there street trees? Street trees soften the hardscape element, which is very important to us because we want to create a sense of place in Salinas. We want, in the Monterey County, we want to make sure that there is greenscape, because greenscape makes the eye, when it sees a building, it makes the eye feel like, gosh, I can enter that. I can walk into that space. It feels good to me. We don't have a requirement per se, other than the requirement for a certain amount of landscaping or park space when a subdivision comes in. But for a house, it's important because it's like putting the icing on a cake. You have this beautiful house, and if you don't have landscaping, it's like eating just the cake cooked and not having any type of flowers or anything on the cake that we see. What's important is that it complements, and that it's mindful, the landscape plan is mindful of xeriscape, that they're not using too much water. We're very sensitive to the water need in Monterey County, and so that's important to us. But what's most important is that when you look and you feel when you look at a house and the design of the house and you see landscaping, it's almost like you're creating a mini park or a mini entryway. You're saying with that landscape, this is such and such development. And a lot of times the places that we remember are places where the landscaping is done very well. It doesn't matter how you live or where you live. It doesn't matter your economic background, if you're what the cost of your house is. You can have a beautiful street, a beautiful neighborhood by incorporating landscape into it.
Welcome to my garden project. It's going to be our how-to segment. I finally have carved out a space for gardening for myself in my backyard. And Steve has been helping me all from the very beginning. So we're beginning in this garden, and Steve began at the beginning with me about my soil. And it started with me bringing you a soil sample.
Yeah, that helped. Boy, I'll tell you, Maia's got a lot of enthusiasm for this space, and it's real representative of what we find here in Monterey County. Small space gardening, easy to maintain, easy to start with, easy to really enjoy yourself in the hobby of gardening. Well, the soil that she's got to work with here did need some work. It was the Salinas sample we were looking at earlier. It had good organic matter, it had good drainage, but it needed some more compost, some more humus. So what I recommended, because of the clay content, was to begin with some gypsum. She did apply some gypsum, looked like maybe about 10 pounds in here. She worked it in really deep to a depth of about 12 inches, and then she also applied some soil builder. Many soil builders available. You want something balanced to take care of that carbon-nitrogen ratio so that you've got the compost, but you've also got other ingredients like bat guano, kelp extract, blood meal, these types of things. She's done it all here, and as a result, we've got a really nice soil profile to begin with. Wow, look at this. I mean, this is really good stuff. She's amended, she's tilled, and she's ready to plant. Now, as I've talked about with her in the last few days here, really we need a plan before we begin. I mean, that's just the truth to any garden, and that's kind of where we're at now.
So the goals for my garden is that I want to have a vegetable garden. I want to be able to have a salad, I want to have tomatoes, some cucumbers, sunflowers in the back, a little homegrown corn,
Sure.
Just something that I could say, let's eat something yummy for dinner, and you go out and pick it.
I love it.
So that's my goal for this space, but I also know that I could use some beneficial flowers to bring in insects.
Sure.
So what do you recommend as a plan for my garden?
In any small space, you want a focal point for guests and people enjoying your garden. The first recommendation I would have is to add something here. My thought would be maybe a bird bath or a water feature. It would draw guests to your garden in. A small path for access when the soil's wet wouldn't be a bad idea. You could use broken concrete if you're looking for something economical. I'd probably even recommend considering flagstone. An Arizona flagstone isn't all that expensive. It's probably the most economical way to get a strong stone that'll keep your feet less than muddy and allow access. You don't want to break up too much because you only have so much real estate to work with here. Clearly with this garden space, you can see that we've got one side and another. Full sun, abundance of sun, 8-10 hours a day, that's not a problem. It's pretty well sheltered from the wind. You've got a great space to work with. All right, some of the things that we put in this garden, I just want to reference a little closer. This is a soil builder, it's called Bumper Crop. It's available all over, and boy does this help to really breathe life into soil that's tired and or new in the case of this vegetable garden. Also the BIP gypsum here, this is called softened soil, and it truly is an amendment that does wonders for clay soils like in Salinas and down the Salinas Valley. One thing to point out, Maia did a great job cleaning out her garden. She pulled out a lot of rocks and some of these really hard to break down clay chunks. Boy, and there's debris in here. You had plastic, rebar. Any garden's got a lot of debris in it, so.
Well, and this is the kind of thing that makes it hard for an kind of a hobbyist gardener. You try something, I would try something in this space and it would fail. Why did it fail? Well, because how is my plant supposed to grow? Once we had the fun of rototilling, which thank you, my husband and my children, for rototilling, and I need to say it on television to thank them. This was what was coming up.
Sure.
And so rototilling, people say rototilling, you think, oh yeah, I can do a shovel, I can do something else. It makes all the difference, and to make this space ready.
So now you've got the basics for a great garden.
So get out there and enjoy your garden, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us. Let's get gardening.
Bye.